Hi there, so I'm Tim,
I'm Shannon.
and today we're doing some more work on our van. We are putting roof rails on. Um, our van did not come with roof rails. These are used to mount roof racks, solar panels, but as you can see, hardly anything's been done to the van yet. We're just barely getting started with our build, but these need to go on before the insulation and before the ceiling. So we need to have access to the roof from the inside here, and we'll show you why. So we don't need to drill very many holes in the roof because they're already there. They are just plugged up with these little plastic plugs. And the way we remove these is with a heat gun and a putty knife, and you just kind of wiggle them out of there once they get hot. All the putty melts and gets real loose, and you can just pop them right out of there.
So these are the plugs that we're removing, and this is what they look like from the inside. And then over here is where we've already removed the plugs and what it looks like without anything. And then because we've installed the roof rail on this side, this is what it'll look like afterwards. Right here. Okay, so this is the process of getting those little plugs out. So what we've learned is that if you have somebody in the van popping these up with a hammer, they come out a lot faster than if you try to wrangle them yourself with your fingers. It doesn't really work that well.
Each rail that goes on each side of the van consists of 3 pieces. They also come with a rubber gasket, self-adhesive. You peel off the backing, stick this on there, and that helps seal the holes. We also have 2 of these pieces that came with each side, and they go on like that, just to keep the rails aligned when we put them together on the roof. So the next thing we're going to do is apply the gasket to the back. So this is how the gasket will look once you get it installed. You just want it going right down the center on the bottom side of the rail. So a good easy way to do that is to start peeling the backing from one end and lay it down, and then just little by little pull the backing as you lay it in position, nice and straight down the length of the rail. So each rail comes with all these pre-drilled holes, and they're threaded so that they can accept these bolts that we're going to put down through the roof of the Sprinter. And so to start, I'm just going to, with a leather punch here on my pocket knife, I'm just going to start the hole through that rubber gasket that we just put on. And then I can thread these through the hole. And we'll just get them all started, just like that. Okay, so we've gone ahead and put the bolts through. And each rail has a hole for a bolt that is optional. That is, there is not a hole in the Sprinter. So we're going to have to drill 3 holes. So my understanding from what I read on that instruction sheet that came with the roof rail, some of these holes are optional, meaning you may not necessarily have to drill a hole in your van. You could just choose not to install that screw and just go without it. But because we're going to have a roof rack up there and possibly some other heavy stuff, we want it to be as secure as possible. So we are going to go ahead and drill these 3 extra holes. So with rail number A, the very first hole, it's about 1.5 inches from the forward end. This is the optional hole. If you look up here, you can see that these bolts line up with the holes that we have, but there's no hole up here forward. So we're going to drill a hole right there. So next we're going to go up on the roof of the van. We're going to pop the optional bolt out of here temporarily so that we can set this down in all of the holes. We're going to mark the position where we need to drill each one of these holes. So we'll go up top now. Okay, we're up on the roof. We went ahead and we removed this optional bolt here. And as you can see, the other bolts are still in. And we are going to go ahead and set these rails through the factory holes. And we're going to mark where we're going to drill this one. Be aware that there's a fair amount of play here with these factory holes. So we want to make sure that these are lining up good and straight. And once it's good and straight like that, I'm going to take my center punch and mark a hole. This one doesn't really move too much, so I'm not as concerned about it lining up with anything. On the parts sheet that comes with the roof rail kit, Vantech recommends a 3/8 inch drill bit for these holes. I think that's a little huge, so I'm just going to use a 5/16. It's still kind of overkill, but it's large enough that it allows a little bit of wiggle room in case I don't get this hole exactly where it needs to be. But before I drill that, I'm going to do a pilot hole with an 1/8 inch drill bit. So that's where we're starting. Okay, we've got all the holes drilled, and because it's bare metal, we're going to hit those spots with a little bit of paint just to seal them up so that we don't have a rust problem. So that should do it. Okay, we've got the holes drilled. We painted the bare metal. Now I'm going to put the screws back in. And next, we need to put the little alignment dudes on.
So I'm going to take some of the gasket tape that we put on off so that these connectors will fit together. And they won't with this connector tape. So you just take a little bit, and yeah, we got it on there real nice and good, so we got to get it off. These are about 2 inches in length. So if I did that right there, I have to go to right about here. All right, so once that's done, once that's cleared away, then we can put the connector on there. There. Okay.
Okay, and once those are connected to both rails, we just flip the thing over and drop the bolts down through the holes.
Nice.
And it goes right into position like that. Okay, and now we're going to do the final step, and that is to put the washers and the nuts on these bolts and tighten it down. I'm going to use some Loctite. This here is Thread Locker Blue number 242. It is the removable one. I don't want to use the permanent stuff because hopefully this thing won't ever leak, but if it ever leaks, I want to be able to take these off and get up there and put in some new caulking or something like that. So I'm just a little bit leery of putting them on permanently. So I've got a flat washer in my left hand. I've got the lock washer and the 10mm nut in the socket here. Tighten it just like that. And that one's good. So I'm going to repeat that on every one of these, and that'll be our install. And just like that, we have roof rails. One on each side. Oh, good. I'm glad you're still here. So, we finished this installation a few days ago, and I've not been able to sleep very well at night. I just keep thinking, when we were up on the roof putting that one section together where the connector is just like barely an inch away from one of the bolts, I just got thinking, is that bolt going to compress the gasket enough with that connector right next to it that it's going to seal and be waterproof? And I just decided now is the time if I want to do it right and add some extra sealant. So we picked up some butyl tape. We're just going to yank these things back off. We're going to lay down some butyl tape and then put it back together. And it should go, this should take about 2 hours max. And I'll be able to sleep at night. So that's what we're going to do. I figured out why I wasn't getting any sleep. We just popped the rails out, and take a look at this right here. This is where the gasket comes down right towards this bolt, right next to this connector, and you can see the gasket got torn up. Part of it stayed on the van, the other part just came right off of here. Okay, well, I've done about 3/4 of the roof now with the butyl tape, and I finally now have figured out a better way to do it. I was taking the roll and pulling the tape off and laying it down on the roof as I rolled away from it. Royal pain. It doesn't work very well at all. It sticks everywhere. You can't see what's going on. You can't pull this stuff out from underneath. What works a lot better is to lay it down like this and roll away from it that direction. The reason for this is because you can rest the roll on the backing paper as you're working your way down this channel here without it sticking. This stuff sticks as soon as it hits the metal. So let me show you how this works. Now, I've already did the back half and then I cut it. And so right here, I'm gonna pick up again. And this way I can see it as I'm tapping it down to where it needs to be. Center it right over the hole so that I make sure I've got a lot of weatherproofing on either side of the hole. And it just goes so much easier this way. Now that we've covered up all the holes, obviously we can't see where they are. So if your helper can go down inside the van and poke up through the holes with a center punch or a 16-penny nail or something, you can locate the holes and clear them so that when you put the rail back down, it has holes to go through rather than trying to force it through the butyl tape. Then, once we have all the holes located, we can just turn this over and put it right back where it was to begin with. Just like that. So these look good. I will just reset the scaffold back here and we'll put that one where it belongs. And then we put all the nuts on and washers from inside and cinch this thing down good and tight. And we have it waterproof now.
Thank you everybody for watching this video today. You'd be doing us a big favor if you would hit the thumbs up button below.
Yeah, and hit the share button too, and share this on all your favorite social channels. And subscribe if you're interested, because we'll be doing more videos as we continue our van build. But for now, thanks again for watching.
Bye.
Bye. See you next time.